Alright, so today's video, before I go to Jamaica and Curaçao's game in Bank of America Stadium, I just want to make a little video talking about what the US can do to become like a better soccer country, a soccer nation, only because I feel like they're running behind of their true potential. And to tell you the truth, I think we need to start having kids play soccer in the public school system at a younger age, mainly because a lot of people are unable to afford to go to the clubs, go to, traveling expenses that come with going to clubs. Like if you were to have just a local base of soccer player, like little kids, let's say from the age of 6 and up, make it accessible, easy for them to learn the fundamentals. Because by the time they hit high school and they've never, ever had any education on the game, how to do things, how to play, I feel like that's a huge difference to if they were already in about high school age, already know the game, already know how to dribble, know how to pass, vision, all that stuff. We will be at the level of Germany and Spain overnight, simply by just starting them smaller, emphasizing a lot of education on soccer, getting after the minority communities. A lot of Hispanics love soccer, a lot of African Americans. It's very foreign to the African American community, the game of soccer in the United States. I would say even more than white people here in the US. A lot of white people actually enjoy playing soccer, depending on where you're from. A lot of African Americans, like from the South, where there's a lot of potential, a lot of athletic African American athletes there, a lot of them don't even know what soccer is or how the game is played. There's ways to go after the African American community in a good way when it comes to just education on the game, giving them an opportunity to get involved in the game process. And also a lot of Hispanics who simply cannot afford it, a lot of African Americans cannot afford it, and just make it accessible and easy to join in the public school system. I don't even know why we haven't even started to try to get after the American community when it comes to soccer. They do a fantastic job in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, so why not soccer? Make it where it's easy for a lot of people to know and find out how even the game is played. A lot of people in the US only watch soccer when it comes to the World Cup. There's a lot of ways we can educate people from when they're first developmental years in elementary school to when they hit high school. Because right now what it basically is, if you don't join a club, if you don't have money for a club, or at least barely get into a soccer team in middle school, by the time you hit high school and you barely start playing soccer, you are barely learning the fundamentals, barely know how to pass, barely know how to dribble, shoot, etc. There's a big difference between kids who played club or played at a young age soccer to the kids that ended up playing once it became accessible in high school. So if you can somehow start it early on, let's start leagues between elementary schools, soccer teams at a younger age, because at least the school that I went to didn't have soccer until, I'm gonna say, high school. If I didn't have money for a club, I couldn't join a soccer team. So let's make it where in elementary school there's a group of local schools that just compete, from elementary up. All these elementary schools compete, middle schools compete, and just develop the US brand. Make it a cultural thing, just like the NFL is, just like the NBA is, Major League Baseball. The MLS should be trying to do the same thing, and simply just get more involved in the community. What they should target a lot of more poverty-stricken areas. Look at Brazil. Brazil has one of the most poorest people in Brazil, and they become phenomenal soccer players because they have that drive. They want to succeed. They know what they could be if they simply stick to soccer, and they're one of the best soccer nations in the planet. Mainly because they do target more of the poverty-stricken communities, and they become success stories overnight. So the US should just use examples that are happening in Germany and Brazil. Germany does a great job of, from a young age, to just get them involved into sports, into soccer preferably, and in a generation they ended up winning a World Cup. Brazil goes after their poorest communities and they go and recruit a lot of these kids with potential, develop them in their own league. Like the MLS could be a developmental league, and then if a lot of people see there's a lot of good soccer players in the U.S., then they'll take them out to Europe. Like there's things that the U.S. can do, but I feel like they're not doing enough to get into the DNA of the U.S. And that's simply what it is. Like, just follow Germany and Brazil. Germany, like I said, the school system over there, they get them involved in a young age, develop them very well, and then they become phenomenal soccer players, technical sound, great passers. That's basically what Germany does. And Brazil has amazing athletes. It doesn't matter where you're from, but it preferably a lot of the people with money. If Brazil were to just allow people with money to play, that team would suck. They have to invest, especially in poverty-stricken areas, because there's a lot of athletic, a lot of potential there. So the U.S. just simply has to do that. If they can just do that, this team will be amazing in the game of soccer, just like the ladies are right now. The one thing as well in the U.S., if you don't go to college, it's hard to make it to the major leagues in soccer. Like, if you're just a great soccer player, it's hard to just walk into one of the soccer teams and just play and just get picked up that way. It doesn't work that way in the U.S. A lot of people in the U.S. that played in college end up going to the Major League Soccer and playing there. That's how they do things, kind of like what colleges do with the NFL and the NBA. That's what soccer is doing. I feel like there's a lot of potential out there that people that just couldn't go to college for whatever reason, had bad grades, or let's say they could not afford it, or maybe they had a child in their youth and it just become difficult, but they're phenomenal soccer players, they have potential. That's something the U.S. can also do, is just try to have a lot of walk-ins, look at potential players that might be maybe they didn't go to college, but they just became soccer players, and then they did that. So that's something that the U.S. can do. They could become a better country when it comes to soccer in that aspect. Just simply make it more accessible, educate a lot of people, minority groups, low-income people. Just make it to where they at least have a chance. And if they have an opportunity to become great, take the opportunity to develop them. And for sure that will go a long way with the U.S. soccer.